Welcome welcome to this week's episode. Well, as you know, week one of the XFL is now in the books. Let's go over some of the scores. Well, the very first game was Saturday, and it was Seattle Dragons against DC Defenders. That game was played in DC. The score was 19-31, 19 to 31 in favor of the DC Defenders. I watched that game. Actually, I watched all four games the opening week. It was a pretty interesting game. Very different compared to the XFL from 20 years ago. This actually seems like a legit professional football venue. But let's go ahead and go over the rest of the scores for this week. It was game 2 on Saturday was the LA Wildcats against the Houston Roughnecks, and they played in Houston. The final score of that game was LA 17, Houston 37. Unfortunately for me, as I decided the Wildcats would be my team to go for. Then we go into Sunday. The first game on Sunday was the Tampa Bay Vipers versus the New York Guardians. And this game was played at MetLife Field there in New Jersey. The score for this game was Tampa Bay 3, New York 23 was the final score of that game. I watched that game too. I really didn't care who won that game. Then the second game on Sunday was the St. Louis Battlehawks against the Dallas Renegades. And this game was played in Arlington, Texas. It was the final score on that game was 15 for St. Louis and 9 for Dallas. And I was actually happy that the Battlehawks won. I was hoping they would win. And they did. Now, this was actually a pretty good game. It went back and forth defensively. I think all 9 points that Dallas scored were 3-point kicks by their special teams. That was the only scoring Dallas was able to do. When it looks like at halftime they were going to beat St. Louis, but somewhere along the way St. Louis rallied and they beat out Dallas by a final score of 15-9. Now, the funny thing about those dumbasses in Vegas, the ones that play the odds and make their picks for the week and all that shit, they picked for week 1 of the XFL for every home team to win. I think the spread was 50-3 across the board. And St. Louis actually beat those odds. So I was actually really impressed with them. Now my question though is, for a league that's never been played, before the first kickoff of the very first week, How is it that those dumbasses in Vegas think they can make these predictions? I mean, granted, they were right 3 out of 4, but that really doesn't make actually that really doesn't make sense to me. How they can supposedly predict odds for something that hasn't happened yet. Now, I can understand if they were going from last season, which didn't exist, but let's just say this was the second season of the XFL. I could see where they can make those odds and make those claims. But come on, seriously, week one, I don't see it. Um, but then again, at the same time, also I don't gamble. When I pick teams, I'm gonna be honest. When I pick a team, the only reason I say they'll win is because I want them to win. I don't go in with all the stats. I don't know who's rushed for so many yards last week or who's on the injured list. Yeah, I mean, I could keep up with that kind of stuff, but I don't. I just, I'm a casual fan. I like the game. I understand all the rules. And I pick the games I'm going to watch. And when I sit down to watch that game, I know which team I want to win. And they'll either win or they'll lose. And I move on. That's all there is to it. But, just like everything else, it goes back to money. All these people just want money. No one does anything anymore just because they enjoy it. Anyway, that wraps up a brief recap of week one for the XFL. Thank you for watching. Please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And also, I think there's a notification bell that you can click on where every time a new video is uploaded to this channel, you will get notified. Granted, I think I only have 2 subscribers right now, so thank you to those 2 subscribers. And to the rest of you, start subscribing and tune in next week for another XFL